Welcome back, everybody. Here on Frostbite Garage today, we're going to be tearing into this 700 R4, see how bad the water damage is. It came out of an 88K5 Blazer, and I hope to be using it for the other 88K5 Blazer that's the diesel outside. So I pulled the pan off. If you watch previous videos, there's some water mixed with the oil. I'm hoping it was just condensation because this thing's been sitting for like 10 years or more. So I'm gonna start pulling stuff apart, see if oil got in the actual transmission. I mean, if water actually got in the actual transmission. Because if that happened, if it got in the valve body and stuff, it's probably rusted and no good. But I'm hoping it was just condensation. I did clean up the back somewhat, and doesn't look that, I mean, it cleaned up pretty good. So it looks like it's all just surface rust. So first thing I'm gonna do is, right here you have your servo for your band and your 2-shift. It would be 2 and 4 shift. I'm gonna pull that apart, see if there's any rust or contaminants back there. If there is, I'm still gonna pull the valve body and double check, but I'm hoping that this is clean. I also have a Corvette servo to swap this out with if this is not an upgraded one. The Corvette servo will just hold the band tighter and help it shift quicker. That was a common problem with these, is the bands would slip a lot and that would burn out 4th gear. So I'll show you how to pull that cover off. What you got to do is you usually take a little mallet or something and tap, and you can see it moved in. And then there's a C-clip here, right here. You just hook it, and you just pop it out. Just hook the C-clip here, pop that out, just like that. And then you take just a pair of channel locks. And it should come right out here. Just grab it. And wiggle it. And there's an O-ring there. I'm going to set the camera down, but there's an O-ring that catches on that groove where the C-ring or that C-clip was. The snap ring. Kind of hard to do it one-handed sometimes, but you just want to, you can get in this O-ring. Like I said, it's getting caught on the O-ring right now. Just like that, it should come out. This should just slide right out. There's a pin and all that. That goes in there like that. And this looks like a standard servo. Doesn't appear to be water in there. There's a lot of clutch material though, which isn't really the best. There is a lot of clutch material in this transmission though, which isn't the best sign. But it appears to be dry, so that was my main concern. Hopefully, like I said, this looks like it was a rebuilt transmission not long ago. Wasn't destroyed, because we had no idea to check it, or no way to check it because this motor's blown up. If it is any good. So here's what the servo looks like all in all. And so you got this piston on the back. Goes on there like that. This pushes on the band, tightens the band. But you can see by the size of that, this might be an upgraded one already. I'll go grab the other one. I'll show you, see if there's a size difference, or if this has an upgraded servo in it. All right, so if you take the top back off, see the size of this piston? That's a stock one. See the size of this one? It's a lot smaller. That's a Corvette servo there. So this one will have more pressure on the bands than this one will because of the size difference. So this is a standard 700 R4. This is like a Corvette. They call them Corvette servos. So this one will give you more pressure on the band, quicker shift, firmer shift, and all that. I actually pulled this out of I bought a Corvette servo for a Suburban, but it already had one in there. So I saved this just in case for something like this. But you just want to make sure the pins are the same as long. And we just set it on a flat surface and make sure they're the same height. But if they're not, then you have to swap out the pins, which isn't too bad, but that's what you got to do. Like I said, you set it on a flat surface and check the height of the pin. So when these go together, got this piston goes on here, flat side goes down on there, like that, and then it just sits in here like so, like that. The other one's an upgrade, so we'll be putting that in here when it goes back together. But right now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to leave it out because there's some ports that go to the valve body. Might be able to flush it out. I'm hoping to see some of the clutches and some of the drums and make sure the drums aren't rusted. If that's rusted, then it might be no good. Not even worth the time. But it's not corroded or anything, so that's a good sign. So I'm guessing this just corrode or just moisture from sitting for so long. Although I'm not going to remove the front pump. Might be a good idea to remove the front pump, even though it's a pain in the butt and a lot of work. On to the next step. We're going to pull the pan off and roll it around and get to the valve body and look at what's in there. How bad it is, I should say. I already had most of the bolts out of here because I've already dropped the pan and drained it. So I knew about all the water in it. Might be wondering why I don't flip it over and do this because I don't want to. I let it sit overnight, and if there's any water or anything that drained out of the transmission, I don't want to flush it back through it. I also flushed the tail shaft with some brake clean to push that junk that was back there back into the pan. Oh, yep, made a mess. Cool, just what I wanted to do. All right, so we'll just roll this over a little bit. So I'm just looking to see how much corrosion, how bad this thing really is. I'm tempted just to loosen all the bolts and see what comes out. There are check balls in here you don't want to lose, so that's why I don't want to just pull it off sideways like this. I just unplug some of these electrical connections. So just in case they would, this is a 700 R4. It's not, the 700 R4 is not electric. The only thing that's electric on it is the torque converter lockup. So 700 R4 turned into the 4L60, and then the 4L60E is the electronic controlled version. And that's what's in everything from 93 and up. Everything below that is just a 700 R4 or 4L60. So, just in case anybody wanted to know that. But I'm just really hoping there's no water past the pan. I had some fluids dripping out of here, but that could have been. There's some water in that accumulator there. So everyone's different, so you might want to take some pictures of what the connections, where they went, just to make things easier on you. But everything the pistons seem to move all right. Nothing's hanging up that I can see at the moment. So I'm gonna let this drain for a minute. I'm gonna take a picture of everything so I know how it goes, and then I'll come back and we'll flip it over and take it apart the rest of the way. All right, so I'm back here working on the transmission, 700R4. So a couple things you can tell if you don't know how to identify these, what year you have. This back here was added in '88. It's an auxiliary valve body, and this is a crossover tube that feeds it. This was added in '88 to try and soften up the shifts a little bit between 1 and 2. They also went to a bigger tail shaft in '88. I mean, input shaft. I think it was from a 26 spline to a 28 spline. And then, so like I said, this is just a torque converter lockup solenoid. This is a temp sensor. Yeah, I think it's a fluid temp sensor. This is a pressure sensor. So how they work is it'll shift in the fourth, and if the transmission's up to temp, this will show, or I should say, if the transmission fluid's up to, I think it's 120 degrees. Don't quote me on that. Somewhere around there, this will close. And when it shifts into overdrive, this will close and it'll power up the solenoid. It'll ground out the solenoid. And that is all that's in there. The other wire is for the brake switch. So when you hit your brakes, you push your brake pedal, it'll unlock the torque converter because you don't want that locked when you're slowing down. So right now what I'm going to do is, all these are 10 mil bolts. I'm just going to crack them loose, see if any water comes out. I'm also going to pull this bolt here and this one right here and pull this crossover tube out, see if any water comes out, because it comes directly out of the pump. It goes to the auxiliary auxiliary valve body right here. So if there's any water in there, or if that's just dry, we should be good. I mean, because that goes directly in the pump, and that's coming out of the pump. So if that's got water in it, we might be in trouble. That's got water in it, but I'm hoping not. We'll see. I'm gonna start loosening some bolts, see what happens. Like I said, these are all 10 mils. These are all 10 mil bolts, so I'm just gonna crack them loose. See if anything comes out. Hopefully not water. And I believe this is the 3-4 accumulator. Oh, a bunch of water came out of that. So that's not good. Yeah, there's water coming out of that. Awesome. That's always good. So I'm gonna pull this out because temp sensor doesn't need to go there. That'd be in my way right now. I'll pull this one out because I know where this one goes. The shift kit I got does have all instructions on where everything goes. But like I said, I just want to pull it apart and see how bad the water is. I do have water. There is water coming out right now, so that is not good whatsoever. Get this wire out of the way. I'm hoping this wasn't a lost cause, but it might be. Might just be rebuilding a transmission, which I've never done before. Might try it someday. Who knows? So this should just, after you get these clips out, this should just pop right out. Yeah, there was some water in the tube, but not full of water. I think what it might be too is we tried to start this, um, and it ran for a second, so that might be why we're seeing all this. Because we got to remove the valve body for the shift kit. It says you can just do it without it, but I'm just going to remove it because I want to make sure there's no water in the torque converter lockup solenoid. I'm going to remove the torque converter lockup solenoid right now, which is right here at the front. Which I'm kind of probably going to assume that we get this together and it works, that it's going to come back apart again, or have to drain the fluid to get the water out. I'm hoping this transmission is still somewhat good because we've never driven the Blazer. I don't even know if it's worth fixing, so that's why I was trying to do this on the cheap, just so I can see if it's worth fixing up or not. And that's your torque converter lockup solenoid. So the other thing we pull off is this accumulator right here. So this is your detent cable for a 7-hour force, your throttle position. And there's a little plunger here. And that's free, so that's why I'm assuming this might still be good. Like I said, we'll be putting a shift kit in here. I just wanted to see how bad the water was before I actually start getting into all that. So you got an accumulator spring right here. Then you got a plunger in here. And it's got water in it, a little bit. Sometimes you can wiggle these pins and get it to slide out, but it's not coming out. We are getting water out of stuff. I just want to loosen this to get the water out because there's check balls I don't want to drop until I'm ready to. You can see there's water coming out. Let's spin this around. Let it drain a little bit. So this fluid does not look very good at all. It looks like this transmission had a lot of miles, or it was never changed after it was rebuilt. So it's going to have extra material once it's rebuilt. But I looked up the torque converter name, and the company's in New Jersey, and they're a reputable shop. So hopefully they knew what they were doing when they rebuilt it. But the color of the fluid's not good. But like I said, we're gonna keep going. See how far we get into it. All right, so I let it drain for a while. I'm just gonna roll it over and start pulling the valve body out. Like I said, there are check balls you gotta watch out not to lose. I believe there's one in there. There's an 8 mil here. As long as none of the water got into the clutches, it should be okay. We can take the valve body apart and flush it all out. So what we want to try and do is, since it's upside down, there's going to be check balls on both sides of the separator. There's a separator plate in here, it's steel. And there's going to be check balls on both sides of that. And I'm going to try and pull the separator plate and the valve body so that way I don't drop the check balls. And hopefully we can see the bottom side of the clutches, see how bad they are. I'm hoping to see no water on the bottom of the drums and the clutch packs, especially around the drum. We'll be able to see the drum band. Like I said, there'll be a diagram where all these bolts go because we're doing a shift kit. But if you don't, you can lay it out in the same pattern you took them off. So you just want to grab the plate. You got to turn it. There's this parking detent right there. Usually when the gaskets are stuck on like this, it means that the thing got hot. Yeah, this is not coming off very easy. Gonna have to come back and scrape all this off. And when you do this, you gotta be careful not to scrape too much. You want to take probably like a razor blade and just lightly go over the surface. See a couple of the check balls here. When we do a shift kit, you'll take out some. I think 1 or 2 of them won't go back in. You got your, I believe this is a 1-2 accumulator there. Probably gonna scrape it all off, flip it upside down, and spray it out with brake clean. So take these check balls out. You just get a magnet, pull them out just like that. Roll it over, let it drain a little bit more. Here's what the accumulator looks like. So I just pull this pin out, stick it in there, and just wiggle it back and forth, and it comes out. Got it back flipped around, so I'll probably let it drain for another 15-20 minutes. I'm gonna go get something to eat and then come back and we'll finish tearing this thing apart. All right, so we're working on this, but I did find some bad news that this isn't gonna work out. So I was digging around in here, just looking around for water. There's a bunch of water in here, but pulling this out, this is actually the band for the overdrive. So it actually came off the band itself, which is not good. We might look around on Craigslist or something, but as of now, this one's pretty much just a core for parts. There's really nothing in here we can really do. I think I'm gonna pull this front pump cover off. Just show you guys how bad it is. So there's actually water in the pump too, it looks like. So yeah. Darn. Transmission's not usable, which is too bad. Kind of hoping it was. So you pull out these pump bolts right here. That one's got rust on it, so that's not good to begin with. That's got water on it. So yeah, this is useless. But there's already a problem. It's supposed to not come out. It's supposed to come out. It's pulling the center drum out with it, which is not good. So yeah. See, that's bad. That's not good. This pump should come off of here. Yeah, see, all the friction material's off. This would never even had gear. This friction material is supposed to be on here, glued on here like this. And it's not. It's supposed to be all the way around here. So this came off, which I imagine this transmission got extremely hot from the looks of this. At this point, this one had water in it. And instead of messing with this one, I might just pull the one out of the Blazer and rebuild that because this pump's got rust in it. So that's that. Not really much more we can do with this one. So I'm no transmission expert per se, but I do know how they work. So this would be your front pump assembly. As you can see, it's all got water in it, so this would have been no good. That was the pressure regulator. This is your sun shell, or this is your drum. The shell is still in there. That's right. So this is your drum, and this should be your forward clutch pack. So we can pop this spring out here like that. Here's a clutch pack. You can see these gotten extremely hot. So this transmission was burnt. Here, I'll show you. So you see all the discoloration here. See all these colors right here? It's got extremely hot, colored to steel. But how it works, you got a clutch, you got a steel, clutch, steel, and you got some spacers. This has been rebuilt, like I said, and it has double spacers, so to take up some slack, so it has a shift kit in it already. But I'm guessing they towed something heavy, because this clutches are bad. Like I said, they're all burnt. But I don't think I'm gonna rebuild this transmission. I think I'm gonna pull the one out of the Blazer if I rebuild one and rebuild that one. Because this one had water in it, so there'd be a bunch of pitting. You usually get a new pump, so you don't have to worry about that. But there it is. Kind of sad. I was hoping for something better. As you can see, the pile of disappointment down here. I think going through this transmission, putting a shift kit in, and putting it in the K5 Blazer is out the window. It's too far gone. All the clutches are burnt. There's rust and pitting on plates that I need for the rebuild. Like I showed in the previous video, all the material came off the band. It's what all that clutch material in the fluid was. So, like I said, all the plates, all the steels are burnt. Got extremely hot. I'm guessing they just towed something or just rallied on it really bad. So it's a disappointment. That concludes this episode of Frostbite Garage and this worthless transmission. But hopefully you learned how it comes apart. That's a plus. Till next time.